Well, we had a pretty quiet overnight session around the globe. Crude recovered, followed through on the buying from yesterday. The Asian markets were closed, the holiday in Japan, China, and Hong Kong, with Japan and Shanghai's indexes showing up and Hong Kong's off a little bit. The European indexes were off a little bit, but usually less than 0.1%. So very, very quiet trading. Not a lot to talk about there. For our markets this morning, the only piece of news we have is the JOLTS, the job opening, is supposed to be higher than last month. That will be construed as the economy is growing and there's a need for workers. What's been interesting is that when you go back and you look at the underlying statistics, in this recovery, our productivity, our GDP has increased just under 8%, which is nothing to brag about over 6 years, but it's been done with 2.5 million less workers. So the productivity gains in our economy have been substantial, to say the least. As always, we do more with less, and the workers that support your primary producers, whatever industry, whatever sector of the economy it is, they do more work with less human input. So we left yesterday's market wanting to sell. We had failure to take out 125, 125.04. Our first buy was 21 to 25. We'd be a little bit lower than 13 to 17. So we have an overnight session low of 19. We're there. Looking at this morning's structure, we should have pretty good support in the 16 area. And definitely a B, definitely trying to sell. And the reason for my buying today is the 3-year auction. That usually brings in support. So I was torn 13 to 17, 16 to 20. We got a low of 19, so a little more aggressive because of the 3-year, but we should have some time to get on along. So we got 16 to 20 is our buy one area, 9 to 13 is buy two on the sell side, 27 to 31, and then 3 to 7 to the upside. Like I said, the news is marginal today. The biggest news coming out will be Apple's meeting today where they introduced their new product line, the iPhone 6. Everybody's expecting it to be bigger, some changes to be made for iPads to meet the competition. So that to me is probably the biggest news event today. So not a lot to talk about, not a lot to write about this morning. When the markets are really, really quiet and you can't come to a very strong conclusion or can't see a clear trade for the day, that usually means trading range. A little higher, a little lower, but market's not going anywhere. The dollar is very strong against currencies. The yen and the euro have been whacked, taken out really, really strong support. Overnight, China strengthened its yuan against the dollar. So the dollar has been running away. And, you know, it's amazing. You sit here and you talk, all you ever hear is rhetoric from the politicians and from the rest of the world about how bad the United States is, how negative this part of it is, that part of it is, how bad its outlook is. Then you look at the dollar strengthening like it does. I mean, a lot of stuff doesn't add up. You look at the United States, how our press and politicians talk about how bad things are and it's just getting worse and all this good stuff, yet people will send their children across hostile country to get into the United States. So there's a lot of stuff that political rhetoric is based on or used to help politicians stay in office. It just really doesn't ring true in the marketplace. We've got a high volume number right here in the 19 area. So a limit buy at 19.5 or 20 is the trade that I saw, basically leaning against this high volume number right here. For those of you that are new, go into our literature. That's a number 2 trade. We have the 3-2-1 methodology, and it's 3 rules, 2 patterns, and 1 indicator. And our number 2 rule is a high volume number. And it's the safest place on a non-news basis to have a resting limit buy that I know of. You usually have time to deal with it, or you're immediately toast. And you can see that you're not immediately toast right here. It is held on the first go-around. So that's it for the 10-year. Looking at the 30-year, the knob spread is holding at 13 for the last couple of days. So the long-term money it's taken their profits. We had a high just under 115 with the 1428 area. So it's come off substantially. So we get almost 2 points. So there's pretty fair chance come the 30-year auction on Thursday that the knob spread will strengthen $500 at least. So here we are at 20. The low is 16. 13 to 17 by 1. Play for a little extra volatility. 5 to 9 by 2. On the sell side, got a high of 30, so we're at 20, 27 to 31, sell 1. And then 3 to 7, sell 2. Okay, gold held in pretty well overnight, did not really add or did not trade to the downside. Again, the large players have not been buying physical gold this year. Those that are in gold have bought gold stocks, gold ETFs. They have not bought the metal themselves. And the support for the market is coming from the retail account. And they're not buying for trading or investment purposes. They're buying for protection. So we've got, last night we wanted to buy that 50 area, plus or minus, based on that low right there. Did not get it. The high is 54, so 53, 55 is buy 1. And then 50 plus or minus is buy 2. On the sell side, we have the spill area from 59 all the way up to 64. So 59, 61, sell 1. It's the aggressive side. Then we'll be leaning against this ledge up here, 63, 65 will be sell 2. And we had a trend day down yesterday, so we expect a pause day today. Once most people, when you get into trading, you see a trend day and you think the next day is going to be exactly the same. But usually it's not. Usually it's a pause day. Unless you happen to be at long chart support or resistance. Then then the market can move a couple of days. But it doesn't usually go straight up or straight down without a obvious piece of news. And so what happens to you, in fact, the way it manifests itself in the beginning or not trader, you think every day is a trend day, has trend day potential. And it doesn't. It's a phenomenon of maybe 2 to 4 days a month, depending on the contract. And you really, really have to understand that to help you evaluate the market and think about it in the right way. Okay, this selling came out of the 94.40 area. We're at 90, almost 94 right now. So sell 1's going to be 94 plus or minus, and then sell 2 is going to be 94.50 plus or minus. And you can give crude a lot of room because it really, really, really is a mover. So we're at 83. We got pretty good support, 93.25 to 93 even. And we'll put a question mark at 50. If we come down and we can't take out 50 and we start up, you got to get long on the assumption that we're going to go above 94. And then 250 to 275 for buy 2. That's pretty much just where chart support and resistance are. The announcement by the White House, the speech is coming tomorrow on the new ISIS strategy. I mean, the White House has been getting fed reports for over a year on the ISIS problem and the strength of them, and it really is, the irony of it is, this is the group that we trained and we gave weapons for, and probably was behind the Benghazi killings, the feeding weapons to this group. And so they've been our enemy, and now, I mean, they were our friends to throw over Assad, and now they're going to be our enemy, and Assad, who was our enemy, supposedly is going to be our friend. So they've had a year to make up this strategy, and so last week he comes out and says, we don't have a clue, we don't have a strategy to address this. And they've been backpedaling ever since then. So they've had a year to do it because of political pressures or reaction to the bad optics that they call them right now, of not having a strategy and all this time to plan for it. In a week, they've come up with a strategy. So we're reacting to everything. We don't have a strategic plan. If it's political, they'll do it, like this immigration deal was going to come before the election. Now it's after the election. And again, it's all politics, doing the most expedient thing at that moment in time to maintain your hold on power. And you can't run a company that way, and you can't run your personal life that way, and you really can't, you really do have to take steps to at least anticipate what might happen to you over the long run. So he's being forced, the administration is being forced to act now. And hopefully they're going to act in a way that's not, the plan that they come up with make sense when you get into it. But this expressed policy of leading from behind has its ramifications. And you've turned the world over to people that don't necessarily have your best interests in mind, and you pay a price for that. Okay, this 29 area, 2910 right here, you can see that is where the last rotate up was. And then we have the spill from 24. So this is our sell 1 area, and then our 20 to 30 is our sell 2. Europe instituted some pretty tough sanctions, headline-wise. I don't know what the details are, on Rosenfeld, Gazprom, that supply anywhere from 100% to 40% of the natural gas needs for EU countries. The only one I saw that was where it wouldn't kill our economy would be Holland, where they only got about 15% of their natural gas, their energy needs from Russia. And so, they really kind of stuck their neck out on that one. And we'll see how it plays out. The thing they have going in their favor is that Russia needs the cash flow too. So 29, 29, 10, 29, 20 to 30, then 60 to 70, and 40 to 50 for the euro. Pretty quiet overnight for them. Like I said, Goldman a week or two ago came out and said Euro's headed for 120 to 125. I think they're right. Okay, the E-mini. One of the stories out overnight was, can the E-mini ever sell? Is it always going to go straight up? And the gist of the article was yes. And the major buyer of stocks have been company buyback programs. So they go out, they can borrow very cheaply. They can buy back their stocks. So they can boost the price of their stock on very, very cheap money and assure their compensation if you're an executive in a company. And in many respects, life is cash flow. So if there's been hints that the corporate buyback programs are on the wane. So who's buying stocks these days? And when you go back and you look at who the purchasers are, it's central banks. So as long as they can print money and do that, and everybody's doing the same, the stock market can hold its gains and trade higher, just from the influence of traders. The CME on September 15th, I posted it in the room. You need to read that article. Has made some big changes in their rules to try to eliminate gaming the system. We'll see how successful they are. The guys that they're trying to control are already probably one step ahead of them. Regulators, they play catch up. Somebody does something that they don't like, then they change the rule, and those people figure out something else to do, then they change the rules, so on and so forth. There's some interesting comments in that article about the incentives that the CME has been paying to large entities to increase the volume, of course, to the CME, but also encourage front running. So it's, again, it's just, you just have to read between the lines to try to get a feel for what's going on. And again, our way of looking at the market does not require us to know who or why. We can just see that they are, and that's kind of comforting. We trade with the big money. Okay, on the E-mini, 205 is resistance, so our first sell is in the 204, 206 area. Allow them to get stops above the overnight session. They tend to do that. But we know that there's stops there. And then it's against resistance right over here in this area. It's been rejected. I don't think we can break it out today due to the lack of news. May have to act in this 202.50, 203 area. We'll just have to see how the market plays. We got pretty good support down here, 93, 95. So we're going to lean against this support right here, lean against 95. That's buy one. Buy two is 90 to 92, taking advantage of support in this area. So I see a trading range market. One of our number one levels will hold, and we'll pick it up from there. It can take at least 20 minutes to get everything set, done, and posted. I'm going to get busy on that. We have JOLTS news today. Should have no impact on the market or trading. The biggest dynamic for the financials is going to be the 3-year auction. At some point today, we're going to find buyers or support for that. So I like the buy side better than the sell side for the day in the financials. Later.